Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
The voice of Penn State Wrestling, Jeff Byers. Welcome.
Well, thanks. Nice to be here.
Glad you could find your way back to the studio.
I vaguely remember the trip.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Every team takes on its own personality, its own entity along the way. You know, there are plenty of returners, but in other areas, you know, what could define maybe the personality of this team beyond the ones that people already know about?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, Steve, because I do think, obviously, expectations are very high, and I think there's a lot of excitement around some of the newcomers, and a guy like Bo Bartlett will be dropping to his more natural weight class. But I don't think there's a whole lot of certainty about exactly what you have at this stage of their careers with guys like Alex Facundo. I mean, you know, the potential is there, and I think at some point we're going to be talking about him at least contending for an NCAA final spot. But is that something he can achieve this year? I think it's within the realm of possibility, but I don't know folk style exactly where he fits in a really tough weight class. I mean, he's a special talent, and he's got all of the right makeup that you want for a kid to be great. But I think, you know, Shane Van Ness is in much the same mode where you know they're going to get there at some point, and you know they're going to be competitive pretty much out of the gate. But are they going to win those matches against the top 5-6 guys early in the season? I don't know. I think it's going to be fun to see. And I think this team is going to be fun to watch and just kind of see how it develops and who kind of fits in where. I'm curious to see as the season goes along how they use the 5 dates now that they have. And, you know, might you see a Levi Haynes in a dual meet in a pinch hit spot? But, you know, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how all of that plays out. I think the team is a fun team. I think there's a lot of neat personalities. Obviously, the fans know Roman and Carter and the personalities they bring, and you know, Max Dean and Aaron Brooks. So I think they have a nice mix of different personalities, established leadership, and then some guys that, again, you know are going to be good. Just how good, how soon, I think is going to be the interesting part to see.
Because of COVID years, every sport is older right now. That will eventually start to change. Finally, you'll get past the additional COVID years, and then things will then fall back into whatever we perceive to be normalcy. So it was the oldest NCAA championship probably last year, which brought with it some phenomenal competition. Is that the way it is this year, older and phenomenal competition at every weight class?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of really intriguing weights where, for example, I think Carter Starachi and Mekhi Lewis, at least going into the season, it feels like those two probably are ahead of the rest of the field a little bit. But, man, you've got two really motivated, really talented guys, and they're going to meet, at least once here in the All-Star meet right at the start of the season, but could obviously meet again with a lot more on the line in March. And I think at every weight class you at least have a couple of guys that you're excited about seeing and how they match up. And I think at several weights, I mean, I think 165 is a really intriguing weight class. I think heavyweight with Greg Kirkvliet, I mean, he's going to be right in the mix, right. But I think there's, probably 4 guys there that if things break right, you figure could be a national title contention. Roman Bravo Young will renew his rivalry, such as it is with Dayton Fix, and I think there's a lot of really veteran intriguing matchups, and I think you're going to see some of them right out of the gate with that All-Star meet, Steve. And I think it's a really neat thing that they've brought that back. I think Flow Wrestling deserves a lot of credit. They were, I think, pretty creative in making it an attractive event for the top wrestlers to compete in, and a couple of Penn State's kids opted out, but I think it's there's a lot of really good matchups in that event, and I think right out of the gate that's going to get fans talking about the possibilities down the road.
But it's good that's at the front. I don't want it at the back.
Yeah.
And that's we were talking earlier about Penn State football and about you get to this time of the year and everybody has bumps and bruises. And we've talked about Dan Monthly and the great job that he does with Penn State Wrestling. I also feel the way Cale schedules, there's the intelligence to it as to how he handles the end is a separator with other programs across the country, because I just think he just gets it at that time of the year.
No, there's no question. And it's funny, I did an interview for a columnist earlier today, and we were talking about the quote unquote secret sauce of Cale's program success. And there's a multitude of things obviously that go into it, but one of the primary things is that they certainly have the formula for getting their guys to peak and to feel fresh and energetic at the Big Tens and especially at Nationals. And, yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into the schedule. First and foremost with that in mind, that how do we develop the kids and get them to peak and hit different competition and get different looks during the season and be ready for the postseason. But also, I think Cale does feel an obligation to try to grow the sport. And I think, Penn State obviously is the biggest draw and has been since Cale arrived here. And so they try to get to different parts of the country. They try to get out west at least, once every 4 years.
Oh, they've got the Utah
often.
Valley State.
Yeah.
He tried to help save the BU program by going up there, sold out Organis Arena, the whole thing.
No, and I think that's kind of neat. And this Lock Haven meet coming up Friday is kind of an interesting thing, because they had a team that they were supposed to wrestle, and some things didn't work out. And Scott Morris said, "Man, we'd love the Irish." Cale or Cody, I don't know for sure who called them up initially, but Scott jumped at it, and I think that's. That's the other thing, is you're trying to keep in mind, there's the history with Lehigh, and they've obviously respected that rivalry and continued it year in and year out. But listen, I mean, Pitt, Penn, every Pennsylvania wrestling program wants to have Penn State on the schedule because they know it's an automatic sellout, and it's a great opportunity for their kids to face the premier program in the country, too.
The EWL. So Bloomsburg, Edinburgh, Lock Haven,
Clarion,
Clarion, all of them. I mean, that's all part of the old EWL, and so Pitt was a part of it. West Virginia, so that's fine. There are roots to the sport, and I think it's great to respect the roots
for sure. Yeah, and I think they're wrestling Ryder at a bigger arena this year, and I think that'll be fun because there's obviously a huge alumni base in New Jersey for Penn State, and really high school wrestling, and Rutgers wrestling is really big now in New Jersey. So I think that's going to be a neat opportunity before they wrestle Lehigh that weekend. So there's just some, they try to do some neat different things with the schedule each year, but always in mind is how do we best prepare these kids for postseason success.
In the room, where's the best competition taking place to fight for the right to be there, which then conversely means who doesn't ends up going to tournaments?
Right. Yeah, I think there's going to be a couple. I mean, I think the lineup is pretty well established right now. 125, there's a couple of guys that I think are still in the mix there. Gary Steen will get the start this week, and I think is likely the guy moving forward. But I think there's some good competition there, and I think 49 is Shane Van Ness is definitely the starter, but I think there's some depth building there, and that 57-65 neighborhood, I think with Barraclaw, obviously you have Levi Haynes waiting in the wings there, but you have, I think Joe Lee maybe with some renewed focus, and obviously Alex Facundo, I think, Facundo has a chance to be really special. And again, I'm just kind of curious to see early kind of exactly where he fits in right now in the national picture.
Bo Bartlett going to his natural weight. What can that mean for him?
I'm really excited to see what it means for him, Steve, because I think it means he's going to wrestle with just a different level of confidence. And, I think he worked on it, and I think the effort was there at 49. I just don't know that he ever truly believed that he was capable of being a national champion at 149. He definitely believed that about himself at 141. Now, he's going to have to score more points than he did the last couple of years, and I think, how much of the struggles to score consistently at 49 were the fact that you're up a weight class, and how much of it is just, he's got to get out of his own way and just open up and let it fly. I think we'll find out early this season because, 41 is, there's no question that's the weight that he feels most comfortable and confident at. And I think in the room you're seeing some good things with the way he's developing his offense. But I think, there's 3 or 4 guys that, again, what the potential is and the possibilities are, but kind of how that actually develops and where they're at right now relative to the top guys in the country. I think it's just going to be interesting to see. And we've talked about it over the years. Different guys kind of hit at different times. It comes together. I'm not sure. Watching in the room, you sometimes get a feel, and all of these guys again are doing some good things. I don't have a real good feel for, okay, they are definitively going to win against everybody but maybe the top couple, or listen, they're going to be competitive against everybody in the top 12, but anybody there could go either way. And I think that's going to be kind of the fun part of this thing, is seeing where they're at here in the first couple of months, and then what kind of progress you can visibly see over the course of the next couple of months.
You love your job. You're great at your job. All right. But what has this era been like for you after broadcasting all the years where, there have been some national champions, there have been some top 5 finishes, individual national champions. What has this era been like for you to sit there and chronicle this? Yeah,
it truthfully is a little surreal because it is. Yeah. For years, right? I was started with Coach Lorenzo and with Fritz and Sunderland, and the goal was obviously always with all of those coaches, we want to win a national title. And they were close a few times as a team, and had some great individuals and outstanding talent. But to go from that, where you're climbing the hill, you're getting close, you're just not quite there, to you are following the premier program, no question about it, in the country. And
probably in college sports, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the fun thing, Steve, is, obviously the winning is always fun. It makes it easier for everybody involved to enjoy it.
It makes the post-game show easier.
Yeah, but listen, I've always, I really did. I've enjoyed from day one the opportunity, and I really have loved the kids over the years and the families I've gotten to know. But this era, the winning is certainly a whole lot of fun, but what really is, when I'm on my deathbed, I'm thinking back on my broadcasting career with the wrestling team. It's going to be the relationships with these kids and with their families, and the caliber of people that they are. And I don't know if being a great person leads you to be a great wrestler, or vice versa, or whatever it is. But all of these guys, Zane Rutherford, for as great a wrestler as he is, he's a better person. David Taylor, Bo Nick. You say the same thing about all these guys. Jason Nolf is, you're not going to find a better human being. And so, it's been fun and surreal to watch this team do what it's been doing. But it's really been neat to just see the caliber of individual, and obviously it starts with Kale and Casey and Cody, and the caliber of people that they are, and the families they come from. But it's just a really neat experience, and I've enjoyed my entire ride. But this has been special for a bunch of different reasons, including the fact that you're watching some all-time greats compete.
What's it been like going on the road and realizing you're the show? Like, you are sitting there, and look, because the attendance is different.
There's no question. And the enthusiasm in the buildings are different.
So
and
what's it been like to see that?
Yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, when I obviously started, Iowa was that, and it was always cool when Iowa came into Rec Hall, and you saw and felt that experience, and you saw a legend in Dan Gable and all of the legends that he had wrestling for him. And it is fun to, and I will sit back sometimes after the broadcast, and I'm watching the kids in these away gymnasiums line up, and to their everlasting credit, every coach on this team and every kid on this team will stay in the gym until all of the kids that want autographs have them. And it is really neat to see. And again, it's not just that they're winning; it's that they're winning with some pizzazz and doing it by scoring a lot of points and an exciting style of wrestling. And I think that is something that is appreciated by visiting fans and anywhere Penn State goes, I think there is at least an appreciation, including places like Iowa and Oklahoma State, because they love good wrestling. And I think there is an appreciation for the way these guys compete and the style of wrestling that they bring out.
Well, there's a great appreciation for the job you do. Well, and so you are greatly appreciated here and also by the fans who listen all the time. So.
Well, I am very, very fortunate, and I'm very aware of how fortunate I am to have the job I have, and it really is. It's just a whole lot of fun to be around this program and these guys during this era. And as I keep telling fans, you never, I mean, it's been a great ride. I'm not expecting things to change anytime soon. The recruiting trail's been going okay for Cal again lately. But, man, you never know. I mean, things can change quickly in college sports. And so, anytime I'm talking to the fans, it's just like, man, and sit back and truly enjoy what you're seeing, because this is truly rare and special stuff.
Yeah, I always, my Cale Sanderson joke is always the same, where I tell people he comes in for a home visit and the family goes, it's Cale Sanderson. I think we got him.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.